microorganisms now. Out of all the microorganisms, they are the smallest. Plus, they don't show any symptoms of life when they are outside the host cell now, when they are outside the host organism, isn't it? That is one thing. Further, we learned that they are unicellular also, right? They do not show most of the characteristics of living things. Okay. These things you have learned. Further, like how do virus survive? Okay, like how do they obtain their nutrition? How do they stay alive? Getting it? So first thing, as you already know, that viruses do not show any of the symptoms of life. Like a living organism needs to do respiration, needs to feed on the food, it will grow, it will excrete the waste materials, or it will move on their own also, right? Or at least will show some movement. In the case of plant, like they grow horizontally and vertically, although they don't move. So these are the characteristics of living organisms now. But they don't show any of these. They will be just reproducing, right? They just do reproduction, and they are able to reproduce only when they enter a living cell. I repeat what I have said, that viruses do not do respiration, neither they feed on the food, neither they grow, neither excrete or move on their food. Getting it? So they only reproduce, and they can reproduce once they have entered a living cell. Only then they will be able to do reproduction. Only then they will be able to reproduce. Getting what I'm trying to say? So viruses do not aspire, feed, excrete, or grow. Okay, na? They just reproduce. They just reproduce. And this is what makes them different from other living organisms, right now, from other microorganisms. While other microorganisms will be doing respiration, will be feeding, excreting, and growing also, right? But the viruses will only be doing reproduction only. They will only reproduce, and that too inside the host cell only. So they will enter into the cells of our body, and from there it will basically start to multiply. So they can reproduce only inside the cells of the host organism, and this host organism could either be a plant, could either be an animal, or even a bacteria. The viruses can enter inside the body of other microorganisms also, particularly inside the body of a bacteria also. Getting it, Pawan and everyone? Right? So this is what makes viruses different from other microorganisms. Although they are microscopic organisms, but they are different from others because they reproduce only inside the cells of the host organism. But when we talk about bacteria, so fungi, or protozoans, or algae, they don't need a host cell, right? Now they will grow in the outside environment. They can grow in the environment in which they are found. So that is the thing. So we can say that as long as viruses are outside the living cells now, as long as they are outside the living cells, they are actually non-living things. They behave as non-living things. But as soon as the viruses enters the living cells of other organisms, they start to behave as living things. Getting it, what I'm trying to say? So let me write few important things about it. Hold on. So yes, Sana, how are you?
Fine, sir.
Try joining the class on time. Right now we are discussing about the virus. Okay, now virus, we have learned that they are the smallest microorganisms. They are unicellular, okay, and they are known to cause different kind of diseases. Getting it, no? Like they are known to cause diseases like common cold is caused by a virus, caused by a virus, chickenpox, polio, measles, etc. Smallpox also. They are all caused by viruses. Where the viruses, they do not do respiration, they will not feed the food, they will not excrete, or neither they will grow. Getting it? So what happens? They need a host cell. They only do reproduction, they only reproduce, they only multiply. And that too can happen only once they have entered the cell of other organisms. Like once they have entered into the cell of a plant, animal, or even a bacteria, then they can reproduce, then they can multiply. Getting it, no? So outside the also outside the living cells, they behave as non-living things. Outside the living cells behave as non-living things. But as soon as the virus enters the living cells of other organisms, they will start behaving as living things, right? And then they will carry out the process of reproduction. Getting what I'm saying? So as soon as the viruses enters the living cells, they start behaving as living things. Living things, and then they will start to multiply. Basically, then they will be able to carry out the process of reproduction. And then they carry out the reproduction. That is one thing. And because of this reason that outside the living cells, they are behaving as non-living things. But once they have entered into the living cells of the host organism, once they have entered into the cells of the plant or animals or the bacteria, they start to behave as living things. That's why they are said to lie on the borderline. That's due to this reason viruses are said to lie on the borderline dividing the living things from non-living things. Getting it now? So, for the viruses are said to lie on the borderline dividing the living things from non-living things. Okay, tell me if that much is clear to everyone. It's clear to everyone, no? Good. So now you also turn your camera on. Also, viruses are called as agents of disease. They will be causing variety of diseases in the human beings, in the plants, as well as in the animals. Some of the common diseases you already know. So they are called as agents of disease. Agents of disease. Some of the common diseases are as follows. Diseases caused by viruses. Some examples are, like for example, common cold. It is spread by a virus. It is caused by a virus. Other than that, like influenza, commonly called as flu, that is also caused by a virus known as rhinovirus. Then we have measles, chicken pox, also smallpox, then sexually transmitted disease like HIV. Getting it up? So all of these are caused by viruses. Okay, now all of these are viruses particularly. Also, this HIV is the name of the virus actually, but the disease is the AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. That is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. It's a sexually transmitted disease in which the immune system becomes very, very weak. Some of the common examples of viruses which cause diseases are the common cold virus and the HIV virus that is responsible for causing AIDS. Okay, now common cold virus would be causing the common cold simply, whereas HIV causes AIDS disease. And AIDS disease here stands for acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. That is the thing. One important thing to note down that disease that are caused by the viruses now, basically the viral disease, they cannot be treated with the antibiotics. All these different diseases, like if a person is suffering from common cold, do they need to get an antibiotic? A doctor generally will not prescribe antibiotics for common cold or influenza or measles or chickenpox for these kind of disease. Getting it, guys? So a disease caused by a virus, it cannot be treated by antibiotics. Does that thing clear to everyone what I'm saying? So viral diseases
Yes, sir.
cannot be, although what are antibiotics, we'll be learning about that in a separate topic, okay? So viral disease cannot be treated with antibiotics. Hope that may should be clear to everyone. Okay. Now talking about the advantages of virus, like how can they be advantage? So viruses are advantageous because they are used in the field of medicine. They are helpful in the field of research. Okay, na? They help us understand the evolution of life. Getting it? So there are various field of science where viruses are advantageous. Okay, na? They can be studied to understand the evolution of life on Earth. In the field of medicine, they serve as important tools, like they will be used in the field of medicine. Getting it? For research purposes, they are helpful. That is the thing. Talking about disadvantages. So there are so many disadvantages of the virus. They are known to cause so many diseases, and the viral diseases are quite difficult to treat. Hmm. So they are infectious organisms that causes a wide range of disease in humans. That's why also eradicating a viral disease is very difficult task. Why? Because they spread very fast. Once they have entered into the living organism's body, they spread very fast. Thereby, getting rid of a viral disease is quite difficult. Also, the rate of transmission of the virus occurs rapidly. Like if in a room, let's say a person is suffering from common cold, and if there are 3 or 4 people sitting in that room, so if that person is coughing and let's say sneezing, so it is very likely that the other people in the room will also catch the disease. Why? Because virus spreads very rapidly. The rate of transmission of the virus from an infected person to a healthy person is very fast, is very rapid. So that was the advantage and the disadvantage of the virus. Okay. Now let us talk about the vaccine. It is related to virus, that's why we are going to discuss about it. The following image is that of Dr. Edward Jenner. He created the world's first successful vaccine. Okay. Can you guys give some example of vaccine recently? Like a good number of population have been administered this vaccine. That is the COVID vaccine, right?
The COVID.
Exactly, no? COVID-19 vaccines, getting it? Most of you might have got this, right? Okay. So what is vaccine? Let us understand about this. Okay, like how is it prepare? How does it work? But before that,
There
we will
there
take
was one more virus, right?
which one?
Omri. It was like Omri, something Omricon.
Omnivirus.
Yeah.
There was something like that.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
had a vaccine for that as well.
I'm forgetting the actual name, but it was something like
It was
Omni or something.
Omicron.
Omnicron, no?
Yeah.
Omnicron, yeah. There was actually this virus also.
Yes.
This vaccine, I mean to say. Okay, vaccine by the name of it. First, let's talk about the history of this like vaccine. Like how was it first of all discovered? Huh? Because whatever we are studying today, there have been some research done on that. Okay, no? And that's how we are learning about it. See, you might have heard about diseases like smallpox or chickenpox, right? You might have actually seen some of the
May I
students
go to the
suffer from
washroom?
this. Okay, but be back quickly, okay?
Okay.
In the beginning, I did told you that microorganisms are used to make medicines also, no? Right? They can be used to make medicines like antibiotics and vaccines also, right? So vaccine is a special kind of medicine which will be providing immunity or basically protection against a particular disease. It builds our immunity and provides us protection against it. Why were the people taking COVID-19 vaccine? So that their immune system develops. And suppose if they were to get infected by the actual virus, they would have the immune system ready to fight it. Yes, guys, Fatima, Sana, and everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, na? So that is the thing. So vaccines are first given to healthy person so that they may not get the certain type of diseases throughout their lives. Early in India, polio vaccines were given to children. No, polio vaccine you might have heard about it.
Yeah, they used to come to school and then give him.
Behind the school.
Do that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. They would even come to the home also,
Schools.
particularly government schools. Good, right? So the Edward Jenner, he discovered the vaccine, and he discovered the vaccine for the disease smallpox for the very first time. Okay, now how did he discover it? He observed that the milkmaids, you understand, no? Milkmaids, basically the one that would be working in the what do we say that with the working with the livestock, they would be extracting milk from the cows, right?
Yes.
So they are milkmaids. So he observed that there was a disease called as cowpox with which the cows were infected. Okay, cowpox. So with this disease, the cows were infected with disease. Okay, so if the cows were infected with this disease, so thereby it would be very obvious that the milkmaid will also catch the disease now from the cows. Getting it? So from the cows, this disease was catched by the milkmaids. Edward Jenner had observed that the milkmaids who were infected with the cowpox or any other people who were infected with the cowpox, it was more common for the milkmaids to get infected with the cowpox since they were working with them, they were extracting milk from them. So they were actually immune to smallpox. Like they were not getting infected with the smallpox. Getting it, Sana, Pavan, Fatima, was everyone getting it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes,
they
sir.
were not getting infected with the cowpox. I mean to say with the smallpox. So thereby, in this manner, he discovered the first vaccine. So basically, what he used to do at that time, you know that when a person suffers from pox, now like a smallpox or cowpox, so there will be rashes on the skin, right? So he used to collect the skin sample which has been infected, and he would be rubbing it on the skin of the healthy person. So it will induce immunity in their body. If a person is suffering from, let's say, cowpox, sorry, if there's a healthy person, let us say, and we need to build an immunity in that person's body against a smallpox. So what we will do, what Edward Jenner did, he took some sample from a person who was already suffering from cowpox. So he would be having skin rashes. So he took some sample from his skin and he would be rubbing it on the skin of the healthy person. So in this manner, the immune system of the healthy person was made ready to fight against smallpox. In future, let's suppose if that person were to be infected with smallpox. So in this manner, he found he made the world's first successful vaccine against smallpox. Is that much clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no? That is the thing. Also,
Yes.
we see that also this was all happening in the year 1798. 1798. That was the year when he discovered it. Okay. Also, a worldwide campaign against smallpox has finally led to eradication from most part of the world. So it is very less likely that you will get to know that someone is suffering from a smallpox. It is very less likely. Also, under the national health program in the countries like in India, the vaccines for several diseases are given free of cost for all the government health centers, particularly. Like polio disease is prevented by giving oral polio vaccine. Right now, to eradicate polio, oral polio vaccine is basically given. Basically, polio drops are given, not the injections, right? Many times you would have seen advertisements on TV and in newspapers to protect the children from polio under the various government programs, right? Although nowadays it is very less likely to see such advertisements because there are very few people suffering from polio. Also, you guys tell me what happens if a person is suffering from polio? If a
Sir,
person is suffering from polio, what
they
happens?
won't be able to walk, right?
Yeah, and
And they're basically like paralyzed.
exactly. So it basically damages the nervous system of the
Yes.
body of the children, right? And it
Yes.
will lead to paralysis in some of the cases, can particularly paralysis in the leg. And
Yes.
sometimes the
The leg part is really common.
it's very weak, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes will lead to some breathing problem also. Okay, now
So is it usually always the leg
always the leg.
that gets paralyzed?
In most of the cases I have seen, it's always the legs actually. In most of the cases, sometimes hand also. Sometimes the hand also you will see. You would see some children would be crawling on their hand and their legs.
Yeah.
Okay, now so that is the case of polio in many of the cases. That is one thing. And the disease which can be prevented by vaccination of children now, like at a proper age, vaccination should be given to the children. When they have reached a certain age, the parents must ensure that they have been given vaccination for different kind of diseases like polio, smallpox, cholera, typhoid, hepatitis, tuberculosis, tetanus, measles, rabies. Getting it now? You guys might have heard about rabies, right now?
Yes, sir.
And rabies, it's very deadly. There are very less chances of a person to survive in the case of rabies.
Yes,
They
sir.
develop a condition called as hydrophobia. If
Yeah,
you would,
fear of water.
your fear of water, exactly. So if a person is suffering from rabies, so if you were to offer him or her water, it will be like the person will be having a fear of water, and he or she will
What's
not
the
be drink.
reason of the person being scared of the water?
What's the reason for it? Like
Yeah.
the main reason why the person suffering from rabies are afraid of water now, like it would be affecting their nervous system. Plus, what happens now in the throat particularly, it will lead to muscle spasms in their throat when they would attempt to swallow the water, when they will try to drink the water. So there will be movement, like unusual movement of muscles in the throat. It will kind of cause a very um, what do we call that, muscle
Weird
spasms, you guys
sensation,
understand?
like tingling in the.
Exactly, tingling sensation. It will kind of cause painful sensation in the muscles of the throat. So it will make
Oh,
it very difficult for them to swallow it. Getting it?
okay.
Sometimes you guys know, like when we'll be drinking cold water too much, so like the tonsil swell ups. Tonsil, you guys know, right?
Yes.
So when it swells up, so it is difficult when, like it becomes difficult when we try to swallow something, right, Gauss and Fatima?
Yes.
Right? So something similar happens, but it's not the tonsil that is affected, but the throat muscles, they develop spasms. And once the person will try to swallow the water, it will create so much a problem. It will be difficult for them. So it develops basically a condition called as hydrophobia. Anyways, getting back to the topic. So sometimes the question can be asked like, what is vaccination? So vaccination is the administration of a vaccine to help the immune system develop immunity from a disease, or simply the process of giving vaccine to a person to develop his immune system to help the immune system develop immunity from a disease. That is called as vaccination. Now, what does vaccines contain? So vaccines generally contains microorganisms, or particularly like there could be different type of microorganisms in it, or it could only contain virus in its weakened state, or the virus could be live, or it could be in the killed form, or we can take some structure out of the body of the virus. You can see the structure of the virus. So in that, you can see these structures. See these tiny structures on the body of the virus, on this one, like on this one, right? So we can, in order to make a vaccine, we can actually collect tiny parts from its body. Generally, these parts that you're seeing here, no, they are basically called as proteins. So proteins can be taken out from the body of the virus and then can be used to make vaccine. Getting it? So vaccine contains a microorganism or could only contain virus in its weakened state, or it could be live or killed, or we can take protein or some other structure from that virus. Okay. Also, what happens when we are like when a vaccine is introduced into the healthy body? So the body will fight and kill them by producing suitable antibodies. What happens whenever, you might have observed this thing, that when we took the COVID vaccine, so we might have got a little bit of fever. We got a little bit of fever.
Heart got heavy.
Yeah.
Felt
right.
a bit uneasy.
It was a bit uneasy for many people.
Yeah.
Getting it? So certain people's blood pressure also increased. Certain complications happen. Why so? Because our body had produced antibodies to fight against it. Our body was fighting against it. Getting it now? So whenever any type of vaccine is given to a body, so our bodies produces antibodies. Basically, these antibodies are going to fight against the foreign substance that has been introduced in our body. Like this vaccine, let's say this, we have got vaccine in it. So vaccine basically contains microorganisms in it, no? Right? Suppose if you're talking about COVID-19 vaccine, so it will contain the COVID-19 virus, but that will be in the weaker form, right? Or it could be in the killed form, or we could have taken some structure out of the virus. So our body, in order to fight against this, like it is still a threat for our body now. Even if it is weaker, it is still a threat for our body. So our body would be deploying soldiers, which we are calling antibodies, to fight against them. So once these antibodies have been produced, so it remains in our blood. Okay, na? It's not like it is released from the blood, it stays there in the blood. So whenever the actual strong virus enters the body again, let's suppose if the person were to get infected by the COVID-19 virus, okay, na? And that virus is in the strong state, it is not weak. So then the body will have antibodies. Our body had already prepared the antibodies now. So when that microorganism enters our body again, our antibodies will recognize it, because since it has fought it earlier, so it will have a memory of it. And now this time it will fight it and will protect our body. So this is how immune system develops. Is that thing clear to everyone? Due to the presence of the antibodies in the blood, a person remains protected from that particular disease. So hence, a vaccine develops the immunity from a disease. Is it clear, Sana? Yes, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So that was the thing. Let's do some questions. Yeah. Look at the question number 1. Everyone know where you have to answer, no? So now you guys are like required to drop the answers in chat box. On this ID, here you have to drop your answers. Just write down the question number, and next to question number, whatever is the correct option, write it. You guys turn your cameras on. Pawan, Fatima, and Sana.
So,
Yes, Cosp. That is correct.
so we have to type it in.
Yeah, drop your answers in the chat box.
Okay.
Yes, Pawan, the answer for first one is correct. Second question, you might find it a bit difficult because we haven't learned about that in detail. The disease caused by the bacteria, we're going to learn about it later on. But if you start eliminating the options, you might get the correct answer. See, also one important thing I would like to tell you guys that if a disease has been caused by a bacteria, if a disease has been caused by bacteria, so to cure that disease, to cure the person from that disease, antibiotics can be given. But if a person is suffering from a viral disease means a disease caused by virus. So can that person be cured by giving antibiotics? Tell me. If a person is suffering from a viral disease, like if I am, let's suppose, suffering from influenza, flu, or common cold, so should I be taking an antibiotic? Am I audible or not?
Yes, sir. You are.
Yes, sir.
Okay, no. My question is understandable to you guys or not? Fatima, that is not correct, by the way.
Sir, I had a doubt in the second one.
Okay, let me clear out. Moments ago, we were learning about the disease caused by the virus. Remember? Where I guess I have written some of the names of disease like common cold, influenza, measles, chickenpox, smallpox, AIDS, right? These are diseases caused by the viruses. Okay. So we can eliminate some of the options here. Also, polio is also caused by virus. Chickenpox, it is caused by virus. Okay. Dengue fever, it's caused by virus. Polio, it is caused by virus. That's why the vaccine for the polio is given now. Vaccines worked effectively against a viral disease. To cure polio, the vaccines are given since it is caused by a virus.
I was going to answer the second one, but then I got confused.
No worries, we'll be learning about it later on, by the way. Okay, now? So tuberculosis is caused by a bacteria. And for the first question, that is malaria for those of you have answered. Sana, you haven't answered it.
Sir, I have answered.
I think you answered on the other ID. No. Let me check it again. To whom did you send, Sana? You were required to send it. You sent it to the other ID, I guess. You have sent it to Learnivio. No, you're supposed to send on my ID. Okay, no? You also got the same answer or different?
No, I got the same answer.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Okay, answer the first question. Second question, you guys don't have to answer yet. Okay, no? So some plants have nitrogen fixing bacteria in the root nodules. What are these bacteria called as? Yes, that is correct. You guys know that some plants have nitrogen fixing bacteria. Particularly those plants are leguminous plant. No, in the chapter
Yes.
crop production management, we have learned about it. Like peas, in their root nodules, they have got bulb-like structures like this, called as root nodules, and that leaves a bacteria. Most of you have answered it correctly. Good. Yes, Pawan was, that is correct. Yes, Fatma, haven't we learned that a bacteria lives in these root nodules now? That fixes the nitrogen from the air into the soil. See, that one is not correct. It's particularly talking about the plants that have nitrogen fixing bacteria living in the root nodules. So that one is actually rhizobium bacteria, no? The fourth option is correct.
Rhizobium first,
Yeah.
but then I deleted it.
Oh, okay, no worries. Okay, no? Although other bacteria like blue-green algae, nitrosomonas, and azotobacter, they are also important. They also help in fixing nitrogen from the atmosphere. Blue-green algae, whether it is nitrosomonas or azotobacter, they are also helping in fixing the nitrogen into the soil. But the question was framed in a different manner. No? Question was framed that some plants have nitrogen fixing bacteria in the root nodules. So in the root nodule, only rhizobium is found to be living. These three are not found to be living in root nodules of any plants. That's why rhizobium was the correct answer. Okay. Now the question that where do these microorganisms live? We have learned about all of them, right? Whether it be bacteria, fungi, protozoans, right? Algae, viruses. So where do they live? So they are found to be living almost everywhere around us, right? They can survive in extreme conditions. There are some type of bacteria that can survive in the stream waters, like in the hot stream water. They can survive. They can survive even under the ice. Okay, now you guys know that there's a lake in the Antarctica that is frozen under the ice. There's a lake in the Antarctica that is frozen under the ice. I guess that is Lake Vatican or something. I'm forgetting the name. Basically, I'm saying that there's a lake in the Antarctica, and that lake is frozen under the ice. It is frozen under the ice. It's kind of like this. Suppose there is this layer of ice, and inside that layer of ice, there's a lake. Okay, there's a lake, and scientists speculate that there are some microorganisms and tiny creatures found to be living in that lake. Although it is frozen deep beneath, although this lake is frozen deep beneath the layers of ice, but still some living organisms are found to be living in it. Particularly, some microorganisms have been found to be living in it. So imagine that is such a harsh condition, where most of the living organisms can't survive, but they are found to be living in it. Getting it? Some of the microorganisms are called as extremophiles, like they can live in extreme conditions. This is what we were talking about. Like they can survive in the extreme conditions, like in the very cold water, hot springs, in the deep ocean vents. Deep ocean vents, like in the ocean bed now, there are cracks between the ocean beds. Between the ocean bed, there are deep cracks, and they are several kilometers deep, where most of the fishes will not be found to be living, but microorganisms can be found to be living in it. You guys know about Mariana Trench now?
Yes, sir.
and that is the deepest trench, right? So even in Mariana Trench, microorganisms are found to be living. Not only microorganisms, scientists have found that some of the tiny fishes are also found, and they show extraordinary type of adaptations. I happen to have watched some documentaries. So there were some extraordinary type of fishes. They were almost like they were blind. First thing, they were blind. Also, no light reaches in the Mariana Trench. The fishes were blind, plus their body was transparent, almost transparent. Okay. So in Mariana Trench, microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, some of the viruses, they are found to be living. They have adapted to live under some extreme conditions. Like there will be so much of pressure now, and the temperature would be very cold in the Mariana Trench now.
Yes, sir.
But despite that, they have managed to survive in that. Other than that, we see that microorganisms are found to be living in soil, in the water, and they play an important role in recycling of the nutrients and also help in decomposition. So the waste materials that are thrown into the water bodies, into the soil. So microorganisms that are present there, they help in its decomposition. Plus they help in cycling the nitrogen also. Particularly not only nitrogen, but most of the nutrients are recycled. How is it so? How is it being recycled? Like we are taking like most of our food requirements are made from the plant, right? And when the plant dies, or when we throw the rotten vegetables or leftover food, we throw it. Let's say we throw it into the soil. So initially plant had got all the nutrients from the soil via its roots now, and when we throw the plant waste back into the soil, so the bacteria, different kind of microorganism will decompose it, and the nutrients will be recycled back into the soil. Getting it? So they help in recycling of the nutrients. They are present in the air around us also. In fact, they can be present in the dust particles or the water droplets in the atmosphere as well. Then I did already told you how they can be found to be living in extreme environments. Then they can be found to be living inside and on the organism also. Like they are found on our skin, plus they are found to be living in our intestines also. They are not only found on and in the body of the human, but also on the body of animals and plants, and often would be leading to health problems, right? Although they are important for health also, but some of them cause diseases also. Then they can be found to be living in the man-made environments like hospitals, food production units, food production facilities, wastewater treatment plants. All of these are the places that host a large number of microorganisms. Hospital, obviously, lots of microorganisms like are could be found to be there if hygiene is not maintained. So that is the thing. So here you can see you can be found to be living in the soil, in the polar ice, under the ocean, deep oceans, right? In the water body, they can be found. They can be found living in our gut also. So they are found to be living almost everywhere, particularly when we talk our body. So like the main areas where the microorganisms are found to be living in our body are as follows, right? Now, particularly out of all this, most number of microorganisms are found to be living in our mouth, okay, in our mouth, and some in the gut as well. Okay, so in the gut, the skin, mouth, and in the reproductive organs also they are found to be living. Also, the microorganisms that are found in our body, in the human body, collectively, they are called as microbiota. Microbiota, like the microorganisms that are found to be living in our body in different places. Collectively, we call them as microbiota, and they play an important role in maintaining our health, but are also responsible for diseases also. So they could be anything like bacteria, a virus, fungi, or other microorganisms also that are found in different parts of the body. So that was the thing. So earlier we had a general description of the microorganisms. What are their characteristics? Although we learned few of their uses, few of their harms also, but now we are going to learn in detail about the use of microorganisms, where they are used, right? And what are the harmful effects? Like First, we'll be talking about the uses of the microorganisms. So first, we will learn about preparation of the curd, like how it is prepared. So there's a bacteria by the name of lactobacillus. This bacteria is found to be living in curd, right? And suppose you have taken a small sample of curd, and when you add it into milk now, so what happens? This lactobacillus bacteria multiplies in the milk, and then it will be converting that milk into curd. So thereby, this lactobacillus is helping in the preparation of curd. Getting it, guys? So there it is important. Other than that, in the preparation of bread also it is important. Okay. In the preparation of the bread also it is important. So there's a microorganism by the name of yeast. And how is it useful to us? It is useful to us like it is used in the baking industry for making bread. So when yeast is mixed with the dough for making bread, what happens? The yeast would be reproducing very rapidly. And then it will give out carbon dioxide. While it is doing respiration, it gives out carbon dioxide, and the bubble of carbon dioxide fills the dough and it will be rising its volume. So thereby the dough, its size would be becoming bigger. Okay, now this makes the bread rise, and the holes that you see in the bread now, when you have eaten bread, you might have seen the holes in the bread. They are actually due to the bubbles of carbon dioxide that were given off during the baking process. Okay. So now please read the given paragraph from here till here. Read this quickly.
Yeast is used in the baking industry to make bread, pastries, and cakes because it helps in fermentation. It reproduces rapidly and produces carbon dioxide during respiration. Bubbles of the carbon dioxide gas it produces fill the spaces in the dough and increases its volume.
Good. So what happens basically, look over. We have taken, okay, that is the alcohol preparation. See, what we will do, we will take some dough. Okay, in this note down that water has already been added, and then we add yeast to it. Okay, we have taken dough and we will add yeast to it, and like we can add some amount of sugar in it also. Like we can add some amount of sugar in it also. Okay. And like you can wrap it with a piece of cloth to limit the supply of oxygen. Okay. Then it will do anaerobic respiration. In your previous grade, you guys have learned about respiration in organism, right? Where you would have learned about aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So it will do anaerobic respiration and it gives out carbon dioxide gas. In the process of doing so, it gives out carbon dioxide gas.
The anaerobic was the one that breaks down with the help of glucose, right?
Without the help of oxygen.
Oh yeah, without
You
the
mean to
help of oxygen. I got confused.
No issues. So what is happening? The yeast kind of looks like this, right? And for the yeast, the dough is a food now. It will start consuming the dough, and it
So
will
both of them breaks down with the glucose, right?
it breaks down the glucose.
Yeah, both of them, but one of them does it without oxygen.
Mhm.
Okay.
In aerobic respiration, the breakdown of glucose takes place with the help of oxygen, but in anaerobic, without the help of oxygen, it is broken down into simpler substances. Okay. So in this process, the yeast, first of all, like dough is the food for it. It has got its nutrition. It has got nourishment now. So it will start to multiply very fast. It multiplies rapidly. Also, while it will be feeding on the dough, right? So it will do respiration now. Respiration is the process where the organism break down the food to obtain energy from it, right?
Yes, sir.
So in that process, carbon dioxide gas is given, as you know, it is released. And earlier the dough was kind of looking like this, let's say. Okay. But now, as carbon dioxide gas has formed in it, so the size of the dough is going to increase, Also, has it increased? So there are actually tiny bubbles of carbon dioxide gas that formed inside it, because of which its size has increased. Also, when you cut the bread or when you purchase the bread for the market, you might have seen the tiny holes in the bread. Now, you might have seen those tiny holes in the bread. So those tiny holes in the bread were created when the bubbles of carbon dioxide gas were given off during the baking process. Like when it is baked, so it is given out. And also this process, this addition of yeast makes the bread fluffy. It makes it light, soft, and spongy, right? Also, for the same reason, it is used in making of the cakes, in the making of the pastries also. So that is the thing. Now, this yeast is not only used in the baking industry, but it is used in the alcohol industry also. There also it is used. Getting it? But before that, let us learn a little bit about fermentation. Okay, now? So fermentation is the process by which the yeast converts sugar into alcohol. It's a process by which yeast would be converting sugar into alcohol. And this process was first discovered by Louis Pasteur in the year 1857. Okay. So let us understand like how is this fermentation carried out, particularly when alcohol is prepared, how is it carried out? So natural sugars are taken like apples, grapes, or different kind of fruits. Berries are taken that contain natural sugar. Yeast powder will be added to it. Also, all of this is done in a controlled condition, like in a big chamber, in a big cylindrical chamber, it is being done. In that, all the different kind of food would be first cleaned and would be put into this. Then yeast will be added. Some other substances are also added, but the main thing is some fruits are added and then yeast powder will be added. And under absence of oxygen, in anaerobic conditions, the fermentation takes place, and in the process, carbon dioxide gas is released, and the sugar has now been converted into alcohol. So that is how alcohol are prepared with the help of yeast. Is that much clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no? Okay, Fatima, read the paragraph quickly.
Fermentation is the process in which microbes help to break down the sugar molecules of food into simpler substances like alcohol and carbon dioxide in the absence of oxygen.
Okay, so that is fermentation. Also, you guys will be required to memorize the definition of fermentation, because question regarding fermentation is asked, and it would be better if you were to memorize this equation also. Sugar
Yes, sir.
plus yeast.
Okay.
It came, no?
Yes.
So sugar plus yeast minus oxygen equals to carbon dioxide plus alcohol. So far, we have learned several things. Like we learned microorganisms, particularly bacteria like lactobacillus, is used in the preparation of. Where is lactobacillus used?
Mhm.
Lactobacillus, we learned before this, we were learning about lactobacillus.
Yeah.
Where is it used?
Sir, making of curd.
Making of curd, no,
Yeah.
exactly. And yeast is used in baking industry and in preparation of
Alcohol.
alcohol, exactly. Okay. In the next class, we'll be learning about antibiotics. Okay, now we already have mentioned about it a little bit in the class, but in the next class, we'll be learning like what are antibiotics, who discovered it for the first time, how does it work, what are some common examples, right? Okay, when should it be taken? About the vaccine, we already have learned a little bit about vaccine. We learned Edward Jenner discovered it for the first time in the year 1798. Okay. So that's it for today's class. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
No,